from the business side of it, I always approach these and I don't go, hey, I'm going to put this new tankless in. I'm going to put 30% more on this job just because it's new. Some of them I look at it and go, you know what? There's a lot higher risk category here for something to not go right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. I'm Eric Aune, he's Andy Mickelson. Together we talk about how we run our small plumbing heating businesses. And if you're first joining us here, please hit follow on your podcast app or subscribe on the YouTube channel. All right, Andy, we did an episode recently. What number was that?
Episode 345 from our buddy Jed Kraft.
Yeah, we did it. It went out on July 1st. Yep. And it was a listener question episode. So today's going to be a follow-up to that, actually. So another listener question episode? What do we got?
Yeah, basically. Twofer. So anyway, so Jed, in his first email, had, asked us kind of a whole bunch of questions about, business partnership and, starting a business and some things like that. We did talk about a few of those. Anyway, so after that episode that went out on July 1st, Jed emailed back in here, I don't know, about a week ago, or a few weeks ago, and said, had a couple of other aspects. And one of the things that he had asked about is that he says, as an alternative angle, how do you keep expanding your skills as a business owner without it ever being at the customer's expense? And he kind of goes in there. He says, I know RTFM. We all you tradies out there, all you guys that
RTFM.
Guys and gals are out there in the field doing the installs. You know what the M is. You can maybe
read the Fantastic Manual.
Yeah,
that's
Fantastic
what that stands for. Read the Fantastic Manual. It's the family version. If the kids are in the car, lots of kids in the car while we're talking.
Right,
but he says Uncle Andy and Uncle Eric.
That's right. He goes, I'd love to hear how you balance tackling new things in the field, staying up to date, and still doing right by your clients every time.
Oh, wow. Whoa, Jed, dude. You didn't pull any punches back there, did you? Oh, all right.
We just get rid of the 1-star reviews. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, let's just acknowledge something that after 20 years in business, I have realized that some of the things that I know now, customers paid me to learn. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put that out there. Maybe not to their knowledge, but definitely to the benefit of us both in the long run. You have to do something for the first time. There's always one first time, right?
Right.
Does that make sense? It's tough. I want to hear your take on it because I definitely have an idea, but I want to see where this conversation goes. So, How do you do this, Andy? How do you go out and install a new kind of a system of something, heating, cooling, plumbing, that you haven't installed before? Mm-hmm. And how do you get to the point where you're like, all right, we're at the customer, we're backing up the driveway, we're really doing it. You know what I mean? Without them, and being efficient and being
confident
and knowing that in the end, this is going to work out. How do you get to that point?
I think that for me, it's always been kind of like Jed said, RTFM, right? We're at bid phase, maybe not even bid phase. I haven't even gotten pricing yet.
Yeah.
I am of the mindset that I generally don't rely on a manufacturer's rep. I generally don't rely on someone else to train me on how to design this system before I'm asking for a price for it, right? It seems I've always look at this and go, that's completely backwards to how I feel like a lot of the industry works. And maybe I've got a skewed vision of how other people do it.
Well, I don't know. You're successful, so it must be working. What do you mean?
Right.
I'm not fully following you.
So, great example. For the last 3 years, I have been trying to wrap my head around air source heat pumps, like air to water heat pumps, right?
Yeah, for hydronics.
You're kind of in the same boat, right?
I'm working on it too.
We are scratching this itch of this thing exists. It's crazy expensive, right? In the grand scheme of things, it's way easier to put in an electric boiler or a gas boiler.
Yeah.
Way, way easier. And when you go out and look at the literature and the information that's available for air source heat pumps, it's not great, right? It's not all inclusive. It's
Right.
very much in this realm of like, here's this little piece of that pie, right? And with an air source heat pump, it's one component in the entire system that's going to be followed by at least one other heating source in most cases, right?
Okay, like a dual fuel
Probably
system?
probably a storage tank, probably some additional controls, maybe some solar panels. I mean, when you're in Doug and Amanda's case,
Yeah.
I mean, you just get into these things, and every single one of these air source heat pump jobs I've done has been abstract, right? There's not
You
been
mean
two of
different
them.
from the last
Yeah.
and, like, they're unique. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I felt comfortable. We got on board with the Viessmann. You and I both did a Viessmann install.
Yep.
Mine has been tip-top flawless. I have not heard a word, knock on wood. That one went in and everybody's been happy.
And mine, I haven't had the exact same result. There's nothing
Sure.
wrong with it. It's just not doing what we for the application
What we thought it was going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that comes down to like every job's different, right? So like
Sure.
we're trying to apply it based off of what it was supposed to do. It's not doing that. And so like not a bad thing. I don't want anybody DMing me and asking me what's wrong with it.
No, there's that learning curve. And I think that really applies to what Jed's saying is, like when the Viessmann job that we did that, we replaced two 50-gallon electric water heaters with a 3-ton Viessmann heat pump. So we go back in with that. It replaced both water heaters and also did the radiant floor heat and did fan coil cooling.
They were using electric water heaters for space heating.
Yeah.
God, can you imagine? My God.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, and that one in my mind was like, hey, this is fairly easy. However, we found a few little caveats, and those don't come till install day, and I had to apply some sort of workaround in order to make this function correctly. And I don't think that any of that, would I have liked to do the job without it? Absolutely. I mean, I would love to walk into my very first air source heat pump and be like, yep, it's exactly as I planned.
Yeah.
Slide that baby in, connect these 4 pipes, and we driving down the road.
Yeah, it's not a water heater change out.
Right.
I think a couple things to acknowledge right off the bat. And I'm glad you brought up this heat pump example. Like, that's a perfect example. It's kind of where my head went to. Probably because it's freshest for us, right? But remember when you started installing your first wall hung boilers?
Yeah.
Like, for real? Like, it got real fast, right?
Right.
Because even when you started out, you had the experience of the wall hung, but it wasn't anything to think of that you might be putting in cast iron, right? So like they're two very different things. Anyway, okay. I want to give kind of an abstract, like knee-jerk reaction to this, and then I want to say something I think is pretty simple to understand. First thing, the new stuff is pretty much the same as the old stuff.
Right.
Right? And that's a statement. It's so stupid, and I admit that, but like, if you really think about it, how different is a tankless water heater from a tank water heater on the plumbing side of things? So we do a ton of power vented water heaters. They're very common in my area. I've brought this up in the podcast before. We have basically 2 kinds of water heaters here in the state of Minnesota. You might see some old atmospheric gas water heaters. Well, let's give it a third. The occasional electric, which is number 1 in the country, by the way, but not here in Minnesota. And then tons of, if your house was built from like 95 on in the Twin Cities metro area, good chance you have a power vented water heater. Just to put that out there. So like, compare a power vented water heater, gas, obviously, plastic venting of some sort, usually sidewall, basic stuff. Basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Put in a tankless in that scenario. As long as your gas is going to work out, as long as your venting is going to work out, basically it's a swap.
Yeah. Like almost like for like.
Yeah.
Real close.
Real. But I mean, when you think about it this way, like we're not getting into the weeds too much here. It's pretty simple. Yeah. And it goes back to that whole read the manual. This isn't that big a deal. Should you take things seriously? Always. When I install a new brand of the same old thing, like I did just this week, I installed for my first time the A.O. Smith tankless, the new one that they have.
Yeah.
Never touched it before. I had it in my shop, did some reviews, dug into it deep, read the manual, took some training videos under my belt, that kind of thing. And then I went and installed it.
Yep.
It's different than the tankless that I've installed in the past, but it's not. It's just, you know, a tankless water heater. You know, hot, cold, gas, venting, power, drain.
Yep.
You know, like it's really all basic stuff. So kind of like the old stuff doesn't get too crazy different from, or the new stuff isn't too crazy different from the old. So that's, I kind of want to say that, like, you got to really look at it and go, look, don't overthink this here.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
I think it is important to understand that we're doing the same thing with this. And, you know, kind of like you said, that tankless isn't really dramatically different in how it operates, or what its end goal is.
Makes hot water, takes cold water and makes it warmer.
Right. From the business side of it, I always approach these and I don't go, hey, I'm going to put this new tankless in. I'm going to put 30% more on this job just because it's new. Some of them I look at it and go, you know what? There's a lot higher risk category here for something to not go right. Now, there times when that's going to go completely south? Absolutely. I've got a unit sitting right 10 feet the other side of this wall that cost me more than $10,000 that's been in a shipping container for 2 years that I might have sold, but it's one of those things that you just kind of go, you know what? Sometimes you have to punt, right? Like we got to this line of scrimmage, we went 4 downs, and this isn't going the way it's got to go. And so to answer Jed's question, like, how do you do it without it impacting the customer? You can't. You do have to make sure that, from all things standpoints of, like legal standpoints for at the kind of the farthest edge of it, is make sure you're doing right by the customer. If you told the customer you were going to put this thing in and you identify that it clearly is not going to do what you felt like you thought it was going to do, by all means, pedal the brakes, have a conversation, right? There's no harm in having a conversation with the customer and saying, hey, I'm going to be honest here. I'd really like to just take a step back on this. We tore your water heater out. We tore your boiler out. It's in the yard. I'm going to go get a 50-gallon electric. We're going to get you hot water for the night and some space heaters. And I gotta wrap my head around how this is going to pay out.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
Yeah. Well, sure. It is worst case scenario. But if you don't identify worst case scenario as an option, don't close that door, because you know what? That may be the very best move you ever did, was to say, this isn't the right piece of equipment. I'm trying to use this too far outside of what it's designed for. And I need to take a step back and try and figure out a better solution.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you don't find yourself in that situation. You don't want to find yourself like, look, I made a mistake, but it can happen.
It could happen.
It's happened to you. We've talked about it. It's happened to me too. I want to say this. I don't want to contradict what you're saying. I think you're right. Like, it is going to affect the customer. You said that. I don't disagree with that. But what I wanted to say too, though, is that it's going to cost you. It's probably going to cost you more.
Yeah.
So like, I think the general notion of like, this is going to cost your customer, I think you touched on it nicely there, where you're like, I don't just like, because it's a new system, put an extra 30% on it thinking, well, I don't know anything about this. I think that we all do have to acknowledge that we're putting a little more on a job if we're smart about it, and that, well, we're not exactly sure how long this is going to take, so we make a good estimate, and your guess on the estimates for time is probably better than Jed's will be starting out, because you've got how many, over a decade of self-employment experience behind you. So you got a pretty good idea how to like really whittle it down and be like, no, I want to put an extra 20 hours on here, but I think 10 will be more than enough, and, or 5 or whatever it is. Right. And, depends on the scope of the job. So I want to acknowledge, I think we need to acknowledge that. Like, we do add a little bit
Yep.
to projects, but also you should become more efficient over time. And if in the kind of along the lines of being competitive in your market, you probably should start looking at, like, do I need to adjust my price to win more of these jobs? If I go
Yeah.
down a little bit because we've gotten really good at them, can we do them for a little bit less on the customer end, that kind of thing. But that new install is going to take you longer.
Yep.
And in my case, maybe to the fault, maybe to a little, maybe I could do a little less of this, but I tend to spend more time on these kinds of projects than I originally even bid for. So, like, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
getting paid as much, but
Right.
I'm also not paying an employee to be there. It's
Yep.
paying me. And so I can take that in stride and say, okay, this is an opportunity for me to get this first time experience with this one product or this one kind of system as I try to expand my knowledge.
Yep.
And I have to acknowledge that and go, look, I'm probably uh, only going to get better at this. And my first time around is maybe not going to be the most efficient, and I'm going to
Yep.
not get paid kind of the same per hour. I
You-
think you have to look at it that way too. There's an opportunity for you to do something new, to hopefully make some money off of it or break even, because a lot of times there could be a huge value in just breaking even and walking away from that going, we learned something, we could do it better next time, or we don't want to do it at all.
I'm glad that you brought up that there's some value in breaking even. If you're doing new product install, right, you have to look at it as the contractor, that experience has a price tag.
Yeah.
And sometimes that price tag means it comes at the expense of profit in order to do that. Now, don't do this like routinely, you can't be like, hey, I'm going to go out and put the newest, greatest thing in every single time because that I'm getting that experience. I mean, you do need to do it. I highly recommend it because it's what's going to set you out from your competition. Having that experience and having that confidence to come in and look at the job where, everybody's like, oh, you got a power vent water heater. Well, I guess you're getting another power vent water heater. I can tell you that Aune Plumbing has not gone out and bid power vent water heaters back in replacement because he has the experience and he gained that experience. That came at a value that now says, I've done this before. The next one, we're going to bid it at the same price. Maybe we're going to add a little because I recognize that it took me longer last time, but now we're going to go make money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you get into, you move past that, you move that goalpost, you move past that line where you're like, that seems challenging. I'm going to go with what I know. Like your example of the water heater, like for like versus, hey, you could probably benefit from a tankless. You have a growing family. I know all these things that make tankless successful for my business and for my customers in the past, leading up to this point. So now I've got that experience. But that first time I bet you I made $0 on my first tankless install, probably less than that. And however many years ago that was, because I started installing them. I had an advantage. I worked for a company that did install tankless for years before I went out on my own. And I'm talking a long time, like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
We were installing them, which isn't like, I can talk to plumbers that have been in this as long as I have, and they haven't been installing them for that long because they weren't working with a company that was like progressive and going out there and saying, hey, this is where our market's going to go someday. Let's be there first kind of deal.
Yeah. I'm looking through the podcast studio window over here talking about tankless and failures.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And I have I don't remember what model is, Quiet Side, like QW 60 or something like that.
I almost forgot about those things.
I glanced
was it a
over and I
or
was
a tankless?
No, tankless only.
Yeah.
And we swapped it out here a month and a half ago with a new Renai.
Yeah.
I put this Quiet Side in I screwed up. I wasn't working for myself. One of my early tankless installs, we're talking like 22 years ago.
Yeah.
24 years ago, something like that.
Sure.
I put in, I think it was a Noritz.
Okay.
One of the early Noritz
line,
units.
Good product line.
Yep. Well, it is now.
Yeah. Solid
ultra
stuff.
Crazy high head pressure drop across that unit.
Yeah.
I put this Noritz in there. I was super excited. like I say, it wasn't my money.
Yeah.
I was the service tech, at that time, or the technician. Put it in. The customer calls. He's like, dude, we got like no pressure at all on the hot side. It's out in the garage. His other tank was in the house because we had to get the vent length small.
Oh.
This Nuritz, if I recall, was vented in like, I think it's 3-inch PVC, and it was like 20 feet max.
Yeah, the early models were very different than they are now, aren't they?
Right. And so we had put this Nuritz in there, and the guy's like, I hate it. He's like, I can't take a shower. I got like no water pressure at all.
That ain't gonna work.
It takes for 3 days till Tuesday to get hot water at the
I'm gonna
fixtures.
shower in the morning before I go to bed. I'm gonna turn the water on.
Just gonna turn the water on and hope this thing's warm. And
it's not a knock on Noritz, by the way. That tankless was way different 20 years ago. Like it was just different.
Every manufacturer had its caveat.
Yeah.
And so finally the boss is like, hey, what do we need to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. Right. I don't know. And I was like, it's got to be pipe size. So I went up in this job, and this is the troubleshooting. I replaced all of the 3/4 inch PEX.
No.
With 1 inch.
No.
Yep. Piped it all out in 1 inch.
Actually, probably a worse scenario overall.
It took longer. Insulated this whole thing. Oh. Ran it out, ran a heat tape on it, did all this stuff trying to figure out, like, I don't know. and it was literally, so this goes right into Jed's, thing, like, well, how do you do it without going wrong by the customer? Oh, I guarantee you that our shop at that time, they ran their business very similar to how I did. We're taking care of the customer first and final.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time on that job screwing around. And I had the rep, I don't even remember who the rep was at that time, tells me, well, here's what we've had success with on a couple of these others like this is we put a booster pump on the cold water side so we can boost the pressure up to jam the water through this water heater.
So that makes it worse. The head losses just increased then through the unit.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, I guess we can get this booster pump and we'll plug it in. I'll have to figure out some sort of a flow switch and a relay to turn the pump on. And
oh my God,
like you just start running down this rabbit hole. And I'm like, and finally somebody, one of the guys, I think it was probably one of the guys upstairs, is like, all right, what do we got to do to make this go away?
Yeah. We can't keep throwing money at this.
This unit needs to go away.
Yeah, it's the unit.
And so what do we settle on? A quiet side.
Oh, not knowing though that
not knowing
years,
that
this company's going to be gone.
Right. And to its defense, literally this quiet side has not been serviced one single time in like 18 years.
Bulletproof.
Until
the components started to fail, and then you could get parts
until it lit on fire and tried to burn the house down. And this one didn't, but many of them did.
That's what they did. Yeah, that's the
problem. And so when the guy calls, he's like, yeah, my water heater's got an issue. And we've done other work in this guy's house. I'd like largely forgot what he had in the garage.
Yeah.
And so he calls and he says, hey, my tankless doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what the hell did I put in there? There's a Noritz in there at one point. I'm like, I don't even know. Yeah, maybe it's an old Navian, early Navian.
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, it's got to be a Navian.
And then when you got there, you're like,
and I got there and I'm like, oh, okay.
You got to get this thing out of here right now.
Well, yeah. And come to find out, I think it had a failed discharge sensor, like temperature sensor.
Yeah.
Was the fault.
Wouldn't light.
And there's no sensors available. eBay. And I was like, I'm not buying sensors from eBay to try and limp this quiet side along. It has lived its life. And we put in a Renai RXP. Thing is just bomb. He's like, oh my God, the hot water's amazing. Recirc problem went away. Anyway.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's new tech though. Like it's so much improved, and all of the companies have gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Navian, Noritz, Renai, A.O. Smith now is in big with their model, which seems to be pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
Who am I missing? Is there somebody out there? I don't know this wasn't even the topic of the episode, but do you know anything about that Vestas brand? Like it's another Korean brand like the Navian.
Yep.
But they don't seem to have taken a hold of I don't even know if you can buy them on my market. Probably.
I think I'm in the same. I've seen a flyer for them. Maybe I've seen them at AHR.
That's where I've seen them only, but I
yeah.
wonder if like there's a company I don't do business with, like maybe like First Supply or Our Steel. So anybody listening that's local here, let me know. I'm not looking to buy them. I'm not at all.
Sure.
I'm just wondering. I should wonder a little harder and find that out, because I pride myself in being the company that will service your equipment even if it's not something that I normally install. So maybe I've got some maybe I got to refocus my energy.
Yep.
So yeah, my point on that, Jed, thanks again, Jed. Seriously.
Yep.
We're going to wrap this up, but thank you for writing in. And you look, Jed's not the only one. We've got some recent messages. We'll get to them. We really like it when you tell us what's going on. There was a cool one that came in on our text line, which is a great opportunity for me to remind you, you can text us. And it's free, and you don't, we're not going to be able to text you back or anything.
Yeah,
we don't get your phone number.
Message number.
I think it says like the city you're from is basically like, and we would love for you to tell us your name in those messages. But the most recent, we'll get to in another episode, was asking us about hot water recirc and like with the mixing valve and stuff like that. And it was a great question. We'll get to that. I love that topic. I talk about it all the time in videos, or I have many times. So yeah, let us know what you're thinking. Jed, thanks for writing in. I think if you just keep in mind that sometimes you got to like pay yourself to learn these problems, meaning like you're not going to make as much money. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And don't overthink it. Like go into it knowledge base, like Andy said, like read that manual, get the training you need ahead of time, know and understand the stuff enough to put the bid together before you commit to doing the job. I think if you do that, and you keep in mind that this stuff isn't really all that different than probably the last thing you did.
No.
Like the basics of it are going to be the same. We're not like using new technology really. We're just kind of reapplying what's been out there in a different way. And that's what works for me, like that mental roadblock, just like leading up to stuff. And if there's anybody that can psych themselves out about something, it's me. So I'm a pro at that. Anything else to add, bud?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered that. Go out and do it. Just do one.
Do it. Go throw yourselves to the wolves.
That's
to
right.
the fire, whatever it is.
That's right.
All right, buddy. Take it
Head
easy.
first. See ya.